bring the energy, he'll do the rest. Martinez Company, powered by Sports Radio 102.9 The Game.
You're going to hear it right here.
The show starts now.
Well, and good morning, everyone. It is a Monday, January 6th, 2025, here on the Coastal Sports Network. Thank you all for tuning in, not only to the Coastal Sports Network, but of course to SR1029thegame.com, where you can find all the content programming right on the homepage. You can also look at the radio player that's there, and you can also click on the individual buttons that are up there for the show so you guys can follow us on the social medias. I make it absolutely easy for everyone to do so. Therefore, all you have to do is, for example, you can go into Martinez Company right from SR1029thegame.com, and you can follow me on the socials. But we thank you all for tuning in. Of course, you can always make your comments live. And now, getting in another breaking news, the Bengals have fired defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo after 6 seasons, and that is from Ian Rappaport. So the Bengals are firing their offensive coordinator. And is that the only one? That's it for the moment. So that's where we start out the day here on the network. Thank you for listening to Martinez and Company. We are here live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 12, sometimes a little bit after 10 a.m. because, as you guys had just seen, Glenn Ordway was on with Pete Shepard. And, of course, when Glenn Ordway is on, the Big O, you know, it's just like the same way with Gabriel Morency on Fridays. Sometimes he runs into a little bonus time. And we're thankful that we can have Big O on because it's not all the time that he's available. So when he does have the availability, we like to definitely have him on in a little bit of extended time. Penguin AZ says, good morning, Edmundo and Chad. Good morning, Penguin AZ. Penguin AZ started with us like early. It was dark. Listen, I start the day off at dark 30, as I said to Rick yesterday. And for those who joined us over there at Tampa Joe's yesterday for the Philly of the South 30th anniversary, Mike Klein, who has done a terrific job over there at Tampa Joe's. We thank you guys all. You guys can always go there at 9316 Anderson Road in beautiful Tampa, Florida. Hop, skip, and a jump from the airport right off of Veterans Highway, and also not that far off from 41 as well, off of Limebog. So go to Limebog, make your left if you're coming off of 41. Over to Anderson Road, and about a mile and a half down, you guys will see it on the right-hand side. But it's a beautiful establishment, great food, fantastic drinks. Ran to Mike yesterday, both Mikes, the owner of Tampa Joe's, and obviously Mike Klein. And we had a great time along with Michelle. She put a very nice video and picture ensemble. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but anyway, a montage of the years that have passed and what Mike has done. And of course, the fan base being the 5th year now at Tampa Joe's. And of course, Tampa Joe's here being the sponsor of SR1029thegame.com. Jay says, happy Victory Monday, everyone. Yes, Jay, happy Victory Monday. Of course, Beef will be on later on from 6 at 6 p.m. this evening. So go Lions. That was a challenging game yesterday for Sam Darnold. And it's funny because when I was talking about, Mayo and Dougie P so far, Jay, they're gone. And now the offensive coordinator that just came down from the Bengals offensive coordinator has also been let go. And yes, the Giants guys have been saved for now. You know, and I know I'm getting a lot of text in, and they're wondering what my hermano, who will be on later on this evening from 4 to 6 p.m., the Drive with Q, he'll be on at 4 o'clock. I'm getting a lot of questions and wondering, how does Q feel about Brian Daboll still keeping his job along with GM? I will say this one, Lou Amaro, Jay, the OC for the Bengals, but I don't think, honestly, he really felt like very good defensive coordinator canned. Yeah, well, that's what it's Black Monday, as those who know. And I don't want anyone taking that out of any kind of context. This is what it's always been known by the NFL. It's Black Monday because it's the day that everybody gets fired. Unless yesterday, for whatever odd reason, the Patriots decided to let go of Gerard Mayo right after the presser. I mean, hey, if that's the case, why don't you just bring in the GM, have the GM do the presser and tell Gerard Mayo, just don't walk into their locker room. We got you. Here's your papers. There's your box. See you later. It was just odd, the timing yesterday. And I don't know, maybe it's because Mike Vrabel, obviously being a hot ticket, is up there. Pete, I mentioned this morning how Rex Ryan now is getting his second interview by New York Jets. I don't know. I even said something to Pete where I don't know what Rex Ryan has done as of recent, other than a good job he does in the morning with Get Up on ESPN. But I don't know what he's done lately to attract the attention so much of the New York Jets. You figure Brian Flores is still a candidate. I mean, there's a lot of people still to be talked to. As Jay says, Joe Schoen let two first-team All-Pros leave in free agency for nothing and has a job today. Yep. You know, you got to... Is it the GM or was it the ownership? I mean, the ownership group needs to be looked at. I don't know. Giants are in a mess. Giants are in a big mess. Thanks to them, though, the Eagles ended up taking what was really a meaningless win yesterday. But nonetheless, they still have their jobs. But the whole thing with Gerard Mayo was kind of weird. Yesterday, I was getting to the point, too, with my wife and I. We were talking about digital producer here at Sports Radio, but it was something. I lost my train of thought as far as something that we were talking about, people getting canned. And if it comes up, Xavier Mack and as QB, there was something we were talking about yesterday. But anyways, if it pops into my head, I'll bring it up again as Jay was coming in with a flurry of messages. But Aaron Rodgers also yesterday had talked about it, you know, whether it'll be his last game or not, who knows? To me, I think when he decided to release Enigma on Netflix, that was kind of like the writing on the wall saying that Aaron Rodgers was just done. Just, again, my opinion. What do I know? I just think the way the whole production went down, the time release that they had to have it, because it could have been done after the season was over. He could have let it go and said what he had to say and do what he had to do. But I found it really bizarre that it was released weeks before the end of the regular season. And then you hear him talking about that he's got gratitude and the last 2 years of his life has been his best years ever in New York. And I mean, it's not like he hangs out in New York all the time, number one. And number two, does anybody really want him back? Now, of course, none of the guys on the team are going to say, no, we don't want Aaron back. That's not what people do. When you're a team, you know, you ride or die. But is Devontae Adams going to stay in New York? You know, they made the trade from the Raiders over to the Jets. Raiders didn't get into the playoffs, nor did the Jets. So I don't understand what in the world is it that Devontae Adams saw with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, listen, you know, the guy, Aaron Rodgers, as we continue to say, he's just on a whole different spectrum. I mean, you know, it is what it is with him. But anyways, do Jets fans really want them back? If the Jets fans really wanted any kind of change, right? You didn't like the Eagles did when Eagles got rid of Chip Kelly. You don't show up. Giants fans, you guys kept showing up. I mean, I guess because of Brian Dable not being to blame, the GM not being to blame, so you have to take a look at the ownership group. Were they to blame? All I know is they basically handed the keys to the kingdom to the Eagles, and rightfully so with Saquon Barkley. They were just fine. So the Eagles ended up winning yesterday against the Giants. Giants fans, I'm pretty sure, are going to, I mean, this is probably one of the biggest, probably will be the longest winter. And it doesn't help. They're going to be in the Arctic zone the next week and a half. But I remember as an Eagles fan, years after year after year, wintertime comes around, regular season comes to an end, and then you're sitting there as a fan and wondering, what is this team going to do? Thankfully, Howie has done a great job as a GM for the Eagles. Jeffrey Lurie, great owner, an absolutely fantastic owner that has been for Philly. And listen, he has had to right the ship a couple of times, and he's done so. Howie has done a phenomenal job. So thankfully, Eagles fans not only get to go off from the regular season on a win, one of the better seasons the Eagles have had, and a major turnaround from what started in the beginning part of the season. But now you look at it, and to me, honestly, I goofed around with Pete this morning, and I said, well, the third string came in, and now the third string convinced me that the Eagles win a Super Bowl. But with Green Bay and Jordan Love being hurt, even if Jordan Love isn't hurt, I think that Green Bay coming to Philly would have gave the Eagles a hard time. But now it's questionable whether Jordan Love wound up playing. And I believe also their backup quarterback yesterday got dinged up as well, which means they would have to go to their third string if they aren't able to play. Now, the Eagles got the nod at Sunday, 4:30. That should be fun. The Bucs, and Gaston Guy will be calling in here soon to talk about the Bucs yesterday, which that game, when it first started off, that was a snooze fest as we were going back and forth via text messages. But, I'm just wondering How do you guys feel, and ladies for that matter as well, about your teams? You can always text into the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. And of course, you can make your comments here live on social media. And oh, by the way, if you go again to sr1029thegame.com and you click on, let's just say again, Martinez Company, the good thing is that you'll see the live player up there on the left. Up there, you'll see it looks like a little chat bubble. You can also make your comments live in there as well. So I just want to know how you guys feel about your teams. Do they do well? You know, were you in any kind of fantasy team? And, you know, for example, this year for ESPN Picks and Pick'em, unfortunately, a lot of the picks didn't get saved. And so Rick ended up winning yesterday. I came in second. But myself and like Gaspam Guy, we were keeping track of records because of, unfortunately, it didn't work out. So hopefully next year it'll be a better system, or we'll start just writing things down individually afterwards. But nonetheless, if you guys were part of any kind of fantasy group, how did your group do? Did you finish up first? Did you get hosed somehow or another? Or did you have to wait until next week to decide if you end up tying at the end of the regular season? But I know fantasy sports has been something big. The same way, who would have thought that, I was about to say NASCAR because I was thinking about City Garage Motorsports, but who would have thought the NFL, after years saying that it would never be in bed with any kind of betting, whatever you want to call it. I mean, never. And now, I mean, it's what? DraftKings, ESPN Bets, which technically isn't ESPN Bet per se. You know, it's a betting outlet. It's just a name on ESPN up there. But nonetheless, now they're making hand over fist money. Who else? FanDuel, who's been in the mix. I mean, it's just, there's so much gambling involved. But then at the same time, you didn't want to, they didn't want the players to go out there and bet. That was almost like saying the same thing about Pete Rose. But you make it now basically where, even if, let's just say, the players don't bet, they can always get a friend to bet on it. Now, I've also heard the complaints too about people saying that, well, Kansas City, you know, the referees, they must be part of the betting system because they seem to get the calls our way. And is it for Kansas City to lose right now? There's not a team at this moment. Look at what Detroit did yesterday against Minnesota. And if they can play that tough defense, that stand-up defense that they had yesterday throughout the run in Detroit, then maybe if Detroit faces Kansas City, because I don't believe Buffalo's going to do it. It just, again, in my opinion, I don't think they're going to do it. I don't know if the Ravens have enough to beat the Steelers, although the Steelers now on a 4-game slide may be able to do it, but Lamar Jackson has yet to prove that he can get over the playoff hump. So you're looking at Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and no matter what, from one of those two, the same way with the Bills, you have to look at these teams. Are they enough to beat Kansas City? I don't know what Andy Reid did after he left from Philly to go to KC to all of a sudden just become like this mastermind where he is just unbeatable in the AFC playoffs. And listen, he's somehow or another he's gotten the right formula, but that was another thing too I discussed with my wife yesterday. If Andy Reid decides, and right now you would have to really think about it, if he runs back to back Super Bowl runs, if you're Andy Reid, I'm going to post a question out there for you guys. If you're Andy Reid, you've already won 5. If they win again, the Triple Crown, meaning that, you know, back-to-back Super Bowls. If you're Andy Reid, would you go out and just say, you know what, I've proven everything I need to prove in the NFL. No one's going to be able to win 3 in a row ever again. Or do you hang it around? And again, this is a hypothetical. We're not saying, obviously, I know a lot of people say that the script is already written. If you look at the colors on the logo that the NFL posts up there, there's a lot of red up there, and then there's a hint of yellow in there. Obviously, the yellow is not for San Francisco because that gold is not going anywhere, as they lost yesterday as well. But it really makes you wonder how all this will come into play. So if you're Andy Reid and you win your 3rd in a row, do you just go out? He could already win out on top last season because he had 1 back-to-back. Or do you hang around because you figure, you know what, maybe we could run it back for a 4th one. Either way, Kansas City, once, I believe, Pat Mahomes will be done whenever his career comes to an end in Kansas City, which he's going to be a Kansas City Chief for life for sure. But Kansas City has become the new New England Patriots. Now New England Patriots are trying to get back in their fan base, including Robert Kraft, as they will have their press conference at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Where do the Patriots go from here? Because not only obviously you have to be chasing Kansas City, but now you have to be chasing the Buffalo Bills. But there's a lot of people too that believe that the Bills cannot win and will not win if they get to the AFC Championship game. There's so many variables that lead up to the postseason, and that's why everyone loves the NFL. May not agree with everything that goes on in the NFL, but regardless, a lot of people love what goes on in the NFL because it's just come playoff time, you don't have a stinking clue what goes on. I've been hard on my Eagles all season long. Have they looked good on their stretch run? Of course they have. So has Detroit. So has Tampa Bay. There are a lot of teams that look good. But again, any given playoff Saturday, Sunday becomes a whole different situation. Before I get the gas pump guy here on the phone lines, Penguin AZ says, Packers are not winning. Offense and defense has not played at full game yet. Yeah, good point there. But any given Sunday, go Pack go. As Duncan Dad, hopefully he's feeling better, says Miss Levon won her fantasy championship. That's good. Let's tell her congratulations. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit better. Rick says, hope to see a Philly-Detroit matchup for the NFC Championship game. Listen, I hope for that one too. That would be nice, but I don't know if it's going to happen. I just don't know. But I know this much. Last week, because being as crazy as it was, I know we didn't get the opportunity to talk to our usual panel the way we normally do, but at least today, I know for a fact that we have Gas Pump Guy with us on the line. It's been quite the minute, Gas Pump Guy. It feels like forever. It definitely, obviously, with the old joke being, I haven't heard from you since last year. But Gas Pump Guy, how are you?
I'm doing good, Angel. I'm doing good. Had a good New Year's, just relax, hang out with the family, and, try to stay out of trouble.
That's always a good thing. Well, listen, everybody tries to stay out of trouble at one point or another. For some folks, that works out well. For some other folks, not so much. But it's
the folks that aren't looking for it are the ones that usually get it, though.
That's true. That is so much. That is so true. But listen, yesterday we went back and forth. Okay, let's start off with this. As we both said it yesterday, granted, yes, the Bucs won. The Bucs needed to win. Atlanta was hanging in there. Thankfully, Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers sent Atlanta off to their offseason on a losing note. Kirk Cousins and crew down there in Atlanta are going to have a lot of unanswered questions, I guess, because they got to figure out what's going to happen next. But you paid your quarterback, 9 games, $90 million? It's absolute lunacy. But nonetheless, you have the Bucs, which if I'm hungry, Gas Pump Guy, call me crazy, but if I know today it's a must win, period. I have to win to get in there. You're looking at 25, 26 minutes of the first half was nothing from what we had seen from the Bucs, and especially knowing what was on the line. But then they finally got it together. So I want to start out with the first 26 minutes of the game. What was your take in that beginning? What was basically a snooze fest in the early part of second quarter?
I don't know. I mean, for some reason, I thought this game was going to kick off and, there's going to be some good stuff going on. And it seems like the Bucs came out and said, you know what? I don't think we want to win this. I think we're just going to walk through this and what happens. And they almost got their butts handed to them. I was telling you yesterday when we were texting that they felt like they were just sleepwalking through the game. Like it didn't seem like they had any urgency. It didn't seem like they had any energy, and the defense is the only thing that really kept them in the game that first half. I mean, the offense, there was nowhere to be found whatsoever. There was Baker and all the receivers seemed like they were just sleeping. So thank God that the defense kind of helped us there in the beginning. If not, then I'd hate to see, we probably wouldn't have won yesterday.
I don't think so. The way it was going, I mean, it was unusual, I guess, to say it best. And you heard a lot of people saying prior to even the Sunday, they were saying that no one wants to go and play the Bucks if if they're hosting a game in Tampa. So that mentality, like we were getting pumped, and I know you and I were at least, but we were getting pumped because we thought, okay, well here's the opportunity for the Bucks to really showcase their talents and basically tell New Orleans, not in our house. But early on, it seemed like New Orleans said, oh, whose house is it? Not your house, it's our house. And then again, things turned, they changed and turned around where it needed to be. Now, that being said as well, I know that you have made the call for Baker Mayfield being in the running for MVP. Now, I will say too, and I know you like to pick on Rich on about he'll be on later on this afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m. here at the Drive with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 the game. But I would still think you have still a strong case because you look at, I know for some teams yesterday, it really didn't amount to much. You heard the chance for Lamar Jackson, MVP, which even they had a tough time trying to beat the Browns, as crazy as that may seem. But would you still leave Baker Mayfield if there was, let's say, a top 6 of the MVP candidates? Would you still leave Baker Mayfield as a top 4 candidate?
Honestly, if I'm being honest, no. After yesterday's performance, I still have him in the top 10, but top 4, no. I think maybe 5 or 6, but that performance yesterday really, I think really put a damper on the way I was thinking for the MVP. But like I've said before, the Bucks are my team, so I'm always gonna push for everybody to get everything that they can. That I want Mike Evans to get Walter Payton Man of the Year. I want Baker to be MVP. I want the Bucks to win the Super Bowl. So, after yesterday's performance, to answer your question, I don't think he's at the top of the list or my list anymore because he was never in anybody's list. But and for Rich yesterday, I don't know if it was yesterday. Oh, Friday. Sorry, there was no show yesterday. Friday, he was trying to make a case for Sam Darnold, but after that game that he had yesterday, I don't think he's up in the race either for MVP.
No, you know what? You brought up a really good point there because he was making the case as far as for Sam Darnold. That's an excellent point that you brought back from the Drive with Q. But so there's people saying, and I think even Rich was saying, would it be too much for Sam Darnold to be somewhere up in 100 million category, somewhere in between that nature? We've also heard that people mentioning that the Vikings should trade J.J. McCarthy. Granted, the kid didn't even get the opportunity of playing a full season, but you caught Sam Darnold the lightning in a bottle. And if you look at Sam Darnold yesterday, it looked like and it's one game, we all get it, but it was the most important game of the Vikings season. But if you look at Sam Darnold yesterday, that looked like the Sam Darnold of the New York Jets, not of the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I know the pressure was hot on Sam all game long. The more they pressured him, the worse he ended up doing. And I would go for any quarterback as well. So, I want to make kind of that blanket statement out there. But you look at Sam Darnold's gameplay yesterday, both teams were trying not to give up more than 3. Thankfully, the Lions were able to hold the Vikings in that red zone. I don't know how in the world they did it. And I think it was 2 of them when they were at the 4-yard line and couldn't score anything whatsoever. But you look at Sam Darnold, and I know he's in the running for MVP. Obviously, Pat Mahomes is going to be up there. You're going to have, again, Lamar Jackson, who's going to be up there. You have a point where I don't think Sam Darnold, maybe top 4. I don't think he should be kind of like the runner-up, just if it was just based upon the performance yesterday. But if it's based upon his performance all season long, then you'd have to put him up there. You also have Josh Allen from Buffalo, and he hasn't. I don't know if I'm convinced that Josh Allen is a top 3 MVP. It's been a good season for Buffalo, but Josh also, he's had his moments where he needed to shine and he hasn't. So would you then would you leave Baker Mayfield in a top 10 category of for MVP candidate?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like like I said, I'd have him at maybe number 5 or number 6. I mean, it surprises me though, because a lot of people say that it's because of the interceptions that Baker's had is why he's not being talked about. I personally think it's because he's in the NFC South and he plays for the Bucks. So no matter what, they've never really given the NFC South props on being a good conference. Which, hey, I get it. We're not, but this past year, I've seen this conference, as my personal opinion, has gotten better over the year. I mean, everybody's starting to be competitive. I mean, yeah, the Saints are 5-12, I believe, and the Panthers are 4 or 5 wins or something like that. But it seems like they've gotten better over the course of the year, and I wonder what makes you a better conference. Like, how does people determine on, oh, this is a crap conference, or this is a good conference? Because I'd like to see how they do that, because in my opinion, I think the NFC South has actually been doing pretty good the last couple of years. But I don't know if, Angel, a special formula that they use, or a pie, or what goes up must come down type of thing. If you could help me out there.
No, I don't. I don't think. I wish I knew there was an actual magic formula when it comes to the NFL and the way to decide the MVP candidates. And I know that there's always been different things. I don't even know if it's the correct word to say, but I know there's always been varied opinions about how they've done it. You've heard favoritism, blah blah blah. I mean, obviously it's your overall accountability when it comes to gameplay. Thrown receptions, rushing, percentage. There's about 5 different factors, if I remember correctly, from to balance it out to see who ends up becoming the MVP candidate. But when I'm still on the fence, and Jalen Hurts, could he be MVP candidate? No, Saquon Barkley for sure. If anybody's representing the Eagles, it would definitely go to Saquon. And I still believe that Saquon should be at least top 2 as far as front running for MVP candidate. But again, who knows? It's probably going to go back to a QB anyways, unless they try to. I guess if you're going to try and decide, you would have, again, putting Sam Darnold in the picture, Saquon Barkley, and Lamar Jackson, if it comes down to it. But to me, I think if anybody's proved himself to resurrect his career, being healthy, would be Saquon Barkley. But I mean, any magical formula for MVP, who knows? Because even the best of the insiders, they come out and they think, well, this person's on this, and a quarterback, rating has been, off the chains and blah, blah, blah. And then come at the end, it's not who we think that they are. Lamar Jackson, to me, yes, he's done well throughout the season. There was points where he showed he was an MVP candidate. Do I believe at the end of the regular season, is Lamar Jackson your MVP? No. I just, again, in my opinion, I don't think so. Runner up, sure. But seeing the hard time they had against Cleveland, they should have boat raced Cleveland. They let Cleveland hang around. And I know, obviously you had Flowers who was injured. He had grabbed his knee. I understand. Listen, you get paid millions of dollars in the NFL, whether it's 98 degrees outside, 55 degrees outside, or feels like temperature of 10 degrees. I don't care if you got to wear Velcro gloves, whatever it is that you need to catch some balls. But if they're coming right at you and it's within, arms to chest length and you can't catch them, and Lamar Jackson is throwing dimes, you can't blame Lamar for what happened yesterday. Again, that's in my opinion. But the Ravens just weren't connecting like they normally do. So the MVP candidates, and I'm pretty sure it'll get hot and heavy as the week progresses before the playoffs start. But I think Baker Mayfield's still kind of, just barring yesterday's game, I will give it to you as well. I think he's still in a good running for being MVP candidate. I want to go back to the comment here by Joey B. Says, good morning, Angel and GBG. Tuning in while getting caught up on work. this morning after 2 long week vacation in Arizona. Happy New Year's to all. Happy New Year there, Joey B, Penguin AZ, exchange pleasantries going back and forth. And then Penguin, Joey B says, Penguin AZ, good morning. The desert was fun from Tucson to Glendale to Scottsdale and Grand Canyon with the family. It's always a good time when you can take some time off. That's for sure. Rick and Joey B exchanging pleasantries back and forth with each other, as I always like to post comments up there so everybody can kind of follow along here with the show. But again, you guys can call or text the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. Of course, after me, coming up this afternoon will be the Drive with Q from 4 to 6 p.m. And then Bees World from 6 to about 7:30 this evening. Joining us tonight will be the newest host here on the Coastal Sports Network. Yesias Young will be with us a little bit later on, or obviously about the 6:45-ish hour, as he will come on with Beef and myself on the show this evening, and then he will launch his show tomorrow, Young Life Radio, from 7 to 8 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays right here on the Coastal Sports Network. And then later this evening, the night will close out with Lloyd Vance's Insider Football with Lloyd Vance and Kevin Midget. That show runs normally from 8 p.m. until 9:15. And then the day starts back off again with the Pete Shepard Show. So thank you all once again who are tuning in this morning. We do appreciate it. Again, text lines are always open, 727-858-6650. And if you'd like to call in, you can always jump in and call the party line. Now, yesterday, Mike Evans, as a lot of people end up put him as 11th Evans, 11 seasons, 1,000 yards, not an easy feat. And seeing that he was able to get it, GBG, after being injured and missing some games, that was pretty monumental for Mike Evans to come back and be able to get his 11th 1,000-yard receiving season.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. That was awesome. And I just want to touch on Mike there for a minute. You know, down when we were getting down to the last little bit, and you know, they didn't know if we were going to get the ball back or not. So the way it was ending was Mike was still short 5 yards. And then to touch on that just goes to show you how good of a team player Mike Evans is. He was still short of his yards, but you didn't see him on the sideline complaining or yelling or bitching about anything. You know, he just took it as it came. Hey, I didn't get my 5 yards. I didn't get my 1,000. You know, that's a bummer. But that's what I like about Mike Evans is he's all about the team. Whether he gets his yards or not, he all he cares about is the team and the team winning. So I just wanted to point that out there that's a good teammate on Mike's part of not overreacting and complaining about, hey, I'm not going to get my yards or my 1,000 yards. And so that was awesome to see him get it at the end there. And, you know, the team I thought they were going to get him for too much excessive celebration because the whole team was out on the sideline and congratulating him and jumping up and down and all that. So I was waiting for the flag to come out, but they didn't give him a flag. So that's good.
Yeah. No, I was right there with you because we were trying to see what if they were going to. And listen, I think at that point, if you're the referees, I mean, as long as I think if they would have hit the 1 minute mark, then obviously they were going to throw the flag because then yes, it would have been excessive, even though they weren't doing anything wrong. But at the same time, too, I mean, come on, you have to give it up to them because you got to figure at one point or another, Baker Mayfield was trying to do his best to make every attempt available for Mike Evans to get his 1,000-yard receiving season once again. At the same time, you and I keep talking about if the Glazier family is going to pay this man, but you have to think about it. And I have a couple of sound bites I'm going to end up playing here with Mike Evans, but now we're at the end of the regular season, GPG, and we let's put ourselves in the GM seat for a second. You know, you have Godwin who's injured, and then he'll be back maybe next season, but if it's up to you and seeing you have McMillan, you have now these new wide receivers for Tampa Bay, you got to make the decision. Evans, Godwin, what say you? Who do you keep and what kind of contract are you offering?
Oh man, Angel, You just want to hit me hard with the questions today, huh?
Got to.
Oh man, that's a tough one because my favorite player is Chris Godwin. So I gotta do this without my heart in it, I guess. Oh, sorry about that.
That's a hubcap.
Godwin or Mike? Man, that's a tough one. Can I let me
You got to phone a friend?
let me call a friend. Can I call Fuge or Beef over there or something, or get Duncan Dad on the phone and maybe he can help me out a little bit.
Possibly. Yeah, it's not easy, but that's why I'm throwing up there, because if you think about it, if you're the GM, right? Because you got to think about it. If Jason Light is going over to the ownership group and saying, "Listen, can we keep them both?" The question is going to be thrown back at him. Nope, Jason, you got to pick one, and you pick the one, and then the one that you pick, what are you going to offer him? So you are on the clock. You are the GM for the next 5 minutes. And so now it's you to decide who do you keep, who do you let go, and then what also do you try to attempt to offer for any kind of contract extension to Baker Mayfield?
Okay.
Well, you know what? I'll make it easy for you. Start with Baker first, and then process the other question.
Okay. Baker, I would definitely get him signed up for at least another 3 or 4 years. I don't know how the contracting thing works, like the money wise. So I'll give him $100 million. Fuck it.
Why not? It's not our money.
You know, right? I mean, just you know what? Give him 200.
Exactly. I think he deserves it.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I would definitely sign Baker for at least another 3 or 4 years, because I think he'll be good past that. But just for this exercise that we're doing, I'll say give him 4 years, 150 million. And now to the Evans and Godwin, I am going to. I'm gonna keep Mike Evans. Offer him a contract for another 3 years. Give him 150,000 too.
Yeah.
And if there's a way to keep Godwin for another year or two, I'd like to work that out too. But to answer your question, I'd keep Mike Evans.
See, you would have to.
Yeah.
You would have to. And any which way you look at it, I mean, at this point, and everybody loves Chris Godwin. Let's make sure that we let the people know here in Tampa Bay, they absolutely love Chris Godwin. The unfortunate part is not unfortunate, because Tampa Bay did their homework, and Tampa Bay got themselves some good wide receivers. They definitely got themselves at least a strong running back in Bucky Irvin, and I'm pretty sure that will add to it here after the regular season's over, and especially after the playoffs are over. So if they're going to do any kind of shopping in the offseason, they would have to see what veteran is available, and or someone that's just not cutting the mustard, as it's always said back in the day, with another team. But I'm pretty sure during a draft, they're going to look and see what inventory is in the draft that's available. But at the end of the day, you still have the Glazer family, which I'm not thoroughly convinced that they're going to keep Mike Evans. I think you and I have alluded to that we feel at one point or another they're just going to let him go. And you figure if you have both Evans and Godwin gone, that's going to be detrimental, I believe, in my opinion, for Tampa Bay when you have two leaders. And if you keep Evans will only make the wide receiving core stronger. Just, again, in my opinion, whether it's Evans, whether it's Godwin, I think both of these gentlemen would end up doing a great service to the upcoming receivers that Tampa Bay's acquiring. But in the end, it still seems like the Glazer family is just throwing it out there, almost like a super dried cracker that you throw it up in the air and it just disintegrates, that we're not 100% certain then Mike Evans will be around next season. I think it would be really foolish if they let him go. Personally, you can still, I mean, you already offered him one contract. You give him, okay, so let's say you 2 years and an eligible third season. 2 years, you're looking at, let's just say hypothetically, I don't know, $78 million. But then you throw incentives as you did for him this season where it can work up to, X amount of dollars. But you want to do it where obviously you're going to make Mike Evans happy and you're going to make the organization happy, and the organization can still go out there and get the needs that the team want. So you have to keep Mike Evans. And yes, everybody knows I'm an Eagles fan, but obviously I report a lot down here when it comes to the Bucs. To me, Mike Evans has been a fan favorite down here. I mean, anybody from any team from the other 31 teams in the NFL can see it. That I just think Mike Evans made a case for himself yesterday that he got injured, but it didn't matter because in the end, Baker Mayfield found a way for him to get 1,004 yards this season. And then he ended up talking about his money that he was going to possibly end up giving away. But I mean, it's absolute lunacy. Now, I'll bring up the 3 sound bites from Mike Evans, but Rick M, before we get into it, says, is Bowles the right coach for Bucs to advance? Great question by Rick, because that's what GPG and I have been talking about all season long. And I will turn it over to you, GPG.
I don't think he's the coach of the future. I mean, let's be honest. Todd Bowles is a good defensive coach. Don't get me wrong. He's good at dialing up pressures and stuff like that. But honestly, I think that Liam Cohn came and that just boosted Todd Bowles and gameplay, because Canales did it last year. Yeah, I personally think Cohn is an upgrade from Canales. That's just my personal opinion. I like him better. I think he's more intelligent, more or gameplay. He's more what's the word I'm looking for? Like he's more adventurous with his calls that he does, if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't think Todd Bowles is the coach to stick around and get us to the Super Bowl. If by some miracle it happens this year, I'll be more than gladly to come on here and eat crow, as they say. But me personally, I don't think Todd Bowles is that guy. I think he just needs to go back to doing defense. And personally, I think that Liam Combs should be our head coach next year, and have him bring one of his McVay disciples over there and get him into the OC position and get Todd Bowles out of there. So yeah, I don't like Todd Bowles. I don't think he's the guy that's going to get us over the hump. And so yeah.
It's funny because there are a lot of people. Listen, I don't want anyone to get us like we're trying to throw you for a loop or anything else like that. Is Todd Bowles a good coach? Yes. Just in our opinion, is that he's just not a good head coach. Now, it will show depending how far the Bucs will end up going into the playoffs. Pete's mentioned it. Other folks have mentioned as well that it's been said that no one wants to play the Bucs in the playoffs. Now, the Eagles, at least this round, aren't playing the Bucs. But again, depending on who wins what, the seeding, the whole 9 yards, who knows if they end up meeting again. The only thing is that with the Bucs winning yesterday, yes, the Eagles are coming back to Tampa next year to play the Bucs again. The only thing, as it was said yesterday at Tampa Joe's, that they hope it's in September when everybody knows, as I've said it to Joey D and others, that you get a reverse tan over there at Raymond James Stadium. But nonetheless, and by the way, GPG, before I can, it was funny because yesterday when I was talking to a couple people about Raymond James Stadium, it's funny how I've kind of morphed and transitioned into the Bucs. But, Raymond James Stadium, when I went there for the first time, I honestly, I wanted to go in there with such a sour attitude, but not like a hate attitude. Like, I can't stand Dallas, period. I don't care for the stupid Cowboys, period. So that will never change my freaking theory of thinking. I don't care if freaking Doug P and Nick Sirianni both end up over there in Dallas. Never be a Dallas fan. But going into Ray J and then the upgrades that they did, when you walk around Ray J, you get that feeling of the guys who were there before. And it's interesting because I've been to different stadiums, NFL venues, baseball venues, NHL venues. And it's rare that you get that kind of feeling when you walk into a venue somewhere that you feel like the nostalgia, like, man, so-and-so played here. Ronnie Barber played here. Bruce Arians, won a Super Bowl here. But before, obviously, Bruce Arians, and when I came down, obviously before TB12 ended up coming here, it's weird because when you go there, it's a different mentality. It's a different feel. Oh, and by the way, I will say, I was so happy being with Rick and the crew yesterday at Tampa Joe's because when I was looking up at a TV set, and I was going to text you this as well, and I forgot. I remember every stinking December in Philly, every December, for some reason, the Bucks came. I don't care who it was, but if the Bucks game was the last game on the slate, they would scratch any other game minus the Eagles, but they would find a way because Eagles play usually on CBS, and then you have Tampa Bay who plays on Fox. It would drive me crazy. I'm freezing my ass off in Philly, and then I'm watching everybody in Tampa in T-shirt and shorts and stuff. And that was the case in Philly yesterday. It's definitely the case today as they're about to get a bunch of snow up that way. But, that's the one thing I will say when it's a different feel. Raymond James Stadium, and there's been rumors, supposedly they're looking to build a new one only because, Tampa has hosted Super Bowls here before. I think they're tied for the most in NFL history. And I would understand if they would be looking at some sort of a dome stadium, but they know it would be super expensive here. I don't know if they would be able to do something like what they did in LA, where they would have the kind of like the open end air ones. But at the same time, too, I don't think, unless you're pumping tons of AC in the building, I don't know how they would do it. But I mean, Ray J's just been, I've come to appreciate it. And when you go over by the Buccaneer, I mean, there's nothing like it, especially when you hear them cannons firing off for the first time. Me, I know I was ready for it, but didn't expect it. And my first game was when the Eagles came into town. And I will tell you that I almost jumped like a cat through the friggin' non-existing roof when it went off. But it really has grown on me. I mean, I love the link. Obviously, I always love my birds, but it's grown on me. I don't know why, but that's that. And Rick says, by the way, Bucs fans are kind enough to share half the stadium with the visiting team. Yeah, Rick, which that's another thing we have mentioned as well ad nauseum. How, Bucs fans? Come on. I mean, Detroit was a whole different story yesterday, and I don't know if you heard the story or not, but so Minnesota Vikings fans, apparently their club reached out to the Detroit Lions fans club, and the people who had season tickets, like season ticket holders, they asked if they could buy it from them. Now, I'm pretty sure it must have been a nice offering because there was a section, I want to say at least of 500 Minnesota fans that were eligible to buy the tickets from the season ticket holder. And listen, kudos to the Detroit Lions fans because they figured if I had the opportunity, I would see it as one or two things. Either one, man, I'm going to miss the opportunity of this team being the number one seed, or I get to see them from the comfort of my home. I don't have to go out there and freeze. Oh, and by the way, I'm making some buku money off these tickets.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like you say, though, Angel, if the fans don't show up, then, there's the owners are going to see that and stuff. And these last couple games, I don't know if you've noticed, Angel, at Ray J, though, it seems like there's a little bit more Bucs fans there that seems like it's getting a little more packed. I don't know if it's because it's getting close to playoff time or what, but yesterday and then I don't know, not last week, but the week before when we played the Chargers or when we played the Raiders,
right?
We were talking back and forth that it seemed like the crowd was up more and there was more people in there. So I like that. And if I lived closer to Tampa or lived in Tampa, I would definitely try and figure out how to become a season ticket holder or try and get tickets as much as I could. But being that I'm down here in Fort Myers, that's like 2.5 maybe on a good day traffic wise, but it just hurts when they play those night games, man. I won't be able to stay there until 8 o'clock and then drive 2 hours and then try to go to sleep and then be up at 4:00 in the morning like I am to go to work.
Yeah, it makes it for a long day. Believe me, I know many of those, and it is tough when you're, you always no matter what. The one thing that used to drive me nuts was when the Phillies had when they made the World Series run, ended up winning the World Series. I remember they had to go to L.A. to play the Dodgers. It drove me bananas when the start time was at 10:45 at night, and at that point, I used to get up at 2:30 in the morning. So basically,
Oof.
I didn't sleep all night long because I'm watching the Phillies making a World Series run, and at the same time, I'm going to work, dead tired. But that's what you did as a fan. So I get it. I think it stinks, but the NFL tries to make it where they can get everybody and when they look at the schedule, obviously they look for it because of the people on the West Coast. That's why one of the first weekends here, there's the later games, 4:25, 8 o'clock, and then the Monday nighter at 8 o'clock again. And that's trying to include the West Coast side of the house here in the U.S. But then next week they'll go back to kind of like the normal type schedule for the following week. But it's tough, for a lot of folks. And I know I wish they have at one point, maybe, President-elect Trump, maybe he can put into law that Monday, the day after the Super Bowl, it's a national holiday for everybody, because no matter what, whether it's your team or it's another team, none of us like to go, especially if your team wins the Super Bowl. Now, mind you, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I did not go to work all week. All week. I celebrated all week long because I never knew when it was going to be the next time we're going to be back there again. Granted, we were there a couple years ago in Arizona, but Kansas City somehow or another gave the magic juice to Patrick Mahomes, and somehow or another he came back and won the game for him. But, I celebrated all week long. I waited for the parade, which was originally supposed to be on Tuesday, but because of the rain and stuff, they decided to do it on Thursday. It was extremely cold, I remember, as Rick and I were talking about it yesterday. It sucked, but no one cared because I could have gotten hypothermia, frostbite, 90% of my body. As long as I would have passed away on the table, knowing I was there for the celebration, I'd have been good. Seems kind of selfish, but nonetheless, I'd have been fine with it. By the way, Penguin AZ says, I think Angel's trying to say he might become a Bucks fan sooner than later. As Rick says, bite your tongue, Penguin AZ. But then he follows up with this one here. As I brought up his last comment as he laughed about it, but he says, if the Packers beat the Eagles, I'm sending him a Mike Evans jersey. Oh boy. Oh, well. Does that mean I have to sport it on the show, though? Because that's a whole different story when it comes to that. But now, listen, I can't. I'm checking the flights for February 9th to New Orleans, as Rick just mentioned now. But now, listen, I think the Bucs are going to have a lot of work to do here in the offseason. Right now, they're focused upon next week, hosting the Washington Commanders, 8 o'clock on Sunday. And again, it's tough because of people that wake up early, but Baker Mayfield really resurrected his career. And we've mentioned it all season long. That he really has he matured a lot between last season and this year. Dave Canales did an outstanding job with him last year. And it's almost, and I really didn't think about it until this morning. Let's just say, GPG, that Bryce Young and Dave Canales somehow do some crazy swap for Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Whoa. Hold on a second. You talking about bringing Dave Canales and Bryce Young to the Buccaneers?
No. So Dave Canales reaches out to Todd Bowles and says, hey, Todd, and by the way, Bucs organization, you guys can keep both Godwin and Evans, but you got to give me Baker Mayfield and you guys get Bryce Young.
Ooh, that's. I'll tell you though, I'd have to keep Baker. I'm sorry, Bryce has definitely come a long way, and after he got benched, I think me and you talked about it. After he got benched, he definitely turned the tide a little bit and got better. But I just got to stick with Baker. I can't do it. I can't do it.
That's why I threw it up, because it'd be tough. Listen, that would be like the Giants reaching back out to the Eagles saying, we want Saquon back. Yeah, well, good luck. It ain't happening. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's just tough. No, but listen, the Bucs, that's the only thing that's been my biggest ridicule since I've been here. One is that I don't, and that's the other thing I don't understand either. So in Philly, we could have the worst season ever. Season will end. the Phillies will get ready because, baseball is right around the corner. We'll start hearing a lot more spring training talk and, Phillies, Rays, God knows where the hell the Rays are going to end up. There's still not anything that has been said as of late, ever since at least the end of last year, beginning of this year, where they want the Rays to play. But at this point, who in the world knows what's going to happen there? But Eagles fans, the golden thing about the Eagles fans are that we could have a miserable season. It's baseball season. Eagles fans will still wear Eagles jerseys. They'll when they come down here to Clearwater, they'll wear Eagles jerseys. Yes, they'll wear, of course, Phillies jerseys, but my mind has yet to be somehow or another unscrambled when it comes to Bucs fans, because they have the opportunity of basically wearing the jersey all season long because how the temperatures are down here. Minus the end of this week where it's going to be a little bit chillier. But Bucs fans, you guys need to turn up. You really do. You've been trying, but you guys have to do a much better job. By the way, Rick says. By the way, I think that I like McKee more than Pickett if it came down to a backup. I would agree, Rick. I would agree. Eagles have. It's rare for anyone to say the Eagles have a good problem as of late, but they do have a good problem having, as Rick had just mentioned here, a problem with both Pickett and McKee, because McKee played really well yesterday. He played well when he had to step in for Pickett and for Jalen Hurts. I haven't heard much as of yet to hear what the situation is with Jalen Hurts, other than he's making progress, or if you're from up north, progress. To our friends that are our friends to the north there, but I think if it had to come down to it, would I keep McKee? Yes, I would keep McKee for certain. Pickett, I would probably end up letting go during the offseason, and then again figure out who's out there. Who do we bring in, or do we grab somebody else from the draft as well? So the Eagles it's a good problem to have. The only problem that we don't want is hopefully that Jalen Hurts will be ready for playoffs, and I couldn't see why not, unless if the Eagles feel that somehow or another they can get away with putting McKee in there, and again, the hypothetical, as I always use around here, and somehow the Eagles pull off the win against Green Bay, then you insert Jalen Hurts. But I know the Eagles and Nick Sirianni want to, if Jalen Hurts gives the green light, he passed all the concussion protocol tests, he's going to be back in there. The only thing they have to be careful about is to make sure if he decides to run, make sure you go feet first, number one. And two, hopefully that you don't get mushed in the head into the ground as he was, which, obviously came about the injury for the Eagles. But it's going to be, I hope the Eagles should do well against Green Bay. Again, we hear that Jordan Love, possibility he may not play because he's banged up. Backup quarterback banged up yesterday as well. Penguin is able to probably get a better feel for what he thinks would end up happening. But to me, it's going to be a tough time with Green Bay. I don't like when they start out early on, GBG, when you start hearing like, oh, well, the Eagles are 10.5-point favorites, 14-point favorites, 20-point favorites. Once you start giving a team that much leeway into feeling like they're favorites, that's usually when things go south. And I hope not for the Eagles, because yesterday was a meaningless game, but the third string came in and looked well. I know Dallas Goedert came in because he's been banged up, so they inserted him yesterday. He looked healthy, looked good. It just overall, the vibe that I get from the Eagles is just, for me, it's been week to week. I'm not talking about the NFC Championship game. I'm not talking about the divisional game. Only thing I'm worried about coming up this week for the Eagles on Sunday, 4:25 start, and I believe it's on NBC, just win. Then we could talk about the divisional playoff. But for right now, if we see what the Eagles, no, I haven't heard anything yet about Jordan Whitehead at the moment, Rick.
I think he's out for the rest of the season with that car injury.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, he got into a car accident. I think it was Saturday night or Friday night, I think. Or
Friday night, I think it was.
Yeah, and they said he got into an accident. Nothing too major, but it's definitely going to keep him out for the rest of the season.
No, I mean,
that injury like that happens that, like, it's not even on the football field. You know what I mean? Like, how do you even what's the word I'm looking for? How do you cope with that? How do you cope with something like that? Like, I'm healthy and I can play, but now that I had the accident, not even on the football field, now I can't play. That's gotta be a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely, especially when you're. I mean, it's just it's the season that the Bucks have had. It's just been nuts, and some injuries have been like with Vita Vea, like so many injuries the Bucks have had this year. It's been minor stuff, but it's been able for them to be, as they say in golf, handicapped because they can't get things together. But I don't know. It happened on Dale Mabry and Martin Luther King at 9:30 in the morning, according to Rick. Hey, listen, I don't know what kind of extent of injuries that it was, but I guess he was going to keep him out. I mean, maybe he'll be on the sidelines, or unless they just tell him to stay at home to rest up. But again, it's freakish stuff that happens, especially when you're in a car anymore. Anywhere you travel, you really have to have like cameras, seems like everywhere, in order to kind of stay ahead. Because love Florida, but down there by Fort Myers, your neck of the woods, holy craps.
Yeah, people don't know how to drive.
No. It's been insane lunacy. But I wanted to look at, there was something I saved up here. Do I still have it? I wanted to mention here. And also, once again, it is 11:13 here, as we've kind of blown by through the local commercials. But thanks to MoynihanLumber.com, thanks to AceTechAdvisors.com, TampaJoes.com, and a special shout out there to Philly to South with Mike Klein and crew, again, celebrating their 30th anniversary over at Tampa Joe's. You guys can visit TampaJoes.com as well. But thank you to those guys for being here with us on the Coastal Sports Network. But Rick says, ooh, this is interesting. He said injury was to the pectoral muscle, and he was turning left and caused the accident. Ooh.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, breaking news.
Yeah. Whoopsies.
That sucks.
Sure does. It sure does. But I want to bring up, GBG, some of the teams that were eliminated. You look at the Bengals, 9-8, third in the AFC North. Yesterday, which, I mean, they had to win their game, which ended up winning their game. But again, we talk about slow starts. Cincinnati, third season in a row where they started out slow. Now, I'm not saying, but I'm saying, did you have to look like Slim Shady there, Joey Burrow, to start off the season, which that already started with controversy? So I don't know if that, I mean, obviously it's not. Of course, I'm just throwing out there, to be a wise guy, but it's another slow start. And I don't think Zach's going to go anywhere because, Cincinnati did have injuries as well. If come 2025 season, when it starts all over again, not now because this is technically the end of the 2024 season, but come next year, Cincinnati, let's just say, has an 0-5 start. Do they let go of their head coach then?
I don't know. I mean, I think it definitely they'd be having the conversation at least. I mean, how much rope are they going to give them after this year? You know what I mean? I mean, they won 9 games, starting off slow, like if they start off slow again like they did this year, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he gets fired. Now, like me and they really don't fire coaches in the middle of the year, or at least in the beginning of the year also. So we got to take that into consideration too. But I think that if he starts off with an 0-5 start next year, I think it's definitely a possibility that he might get canned.
Now, they talked about Shane Steichen and crew, which were eliminated as well. The Colts finished up 8-9, second in the AFC South, but they're going to bring them back. I'm kind of somewhat surprised on that one. If I had to give the emoji, it was like the kind of the shrug emoji for those who, I guess, have to describe emojis too. But it does kind of make you scratch your head a little bit because the Colts, the Colts have continued to have the same problem last season into this season. They still got to figure out who's going to be the quarterback of the future. I mean, do the Colts reach out to the Panthers and make some sort of exchange? Maybe bring up Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young, and listen, who knows? The problem that I have with Carolina is the owner, who's just a dum-dum, to put in best terms. you decided to bench Bryce Young. They bring in the redheaded stepchild, and Andy Dalton. Andy, has 2 good games. Then they decide, you know what, we're going to resurrect Bryce's career. Let's see what we can do. And they bring him back into the mix. And he really did fairly well for the Carolina Panthers. But the Colts they're going to be in need of a quarterback. Now they tried the experiment with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, of course, started yesterday for Kansas City. Carson, how did that work out for you? And I try, I try my best not to pick on Carson Wentz too much, but how I can mock myself for this. I know a lot of the season I lived on what happened last season because I was waiting for the fallout to happen with the Eagles. For me, that's gone because now we're in playoff mode. We'll see what Nick Sirianni does. But Carson Wentz has yet to get over the fact that Nick Foles won the Super Bowl, but Carson Wentz forgets if it wasn't for Carson Wentz and the season we were having leading all the way up to LA, it wouldn't be the reason why we ended up winning the Super Bowl. It was all behind the helm of Carson Wentz. But then the following year, you come back and you disassociate yourself with all the, with all the guys in the locker room. You can't stand the fans. All of a sudden you're telling the church, listen, I believed in you, but not so much because usually God is on the winning side, but apparently, he wasn't on my winning side when I got injured. I don't know what it was with Carson Wentz, and that's just my only goofy feeling about it. But he proved nothing. And Andy Reid gave him like a full 60 minutes to prove himself. He's not going to be back in Kansas City. I can tell you that much. Not after what happened yesterday. I understand you're not working with the primary line, but at the same time, too, you should have been able at least to put up, 7 or 6 at one point. But the Colts are going to need desperate help. You look at the Miami Dolphins, and why on God's green earth are they holding on to Mike McDaniels? That's another one. Listen, Florida fans just south of us, south even of Gas Pump Guy. If you guys don't show up next season, I'm pretty sure the ownership group would like to change things. But you guys, for some reason, like to show up at Hard Rock Cafe. I get it. From what I understand, it's a really nice stadium. But the product, 8-9, you miss the playoffs again. You could have beat the stinking Jets and then put Aaron Rodgers into his whole thing of, visiting whales and this, that, and darkness, the whole 9 yards. You could put that to rest. But no, Miami, you decide to go to New York and crap the bed, to say in best terms.
So staying right there with Miami, Angel, quarterback. Are they trying to get another quarterback, or you think they're going to stick with Tua?
Listen, to me, if again, me being Tua, and I would have gotten concussed again, there's things at times. It's like signs, right? Sometimes you see a sign because it's like it's a change. You need a change. For me, it was like when I saw a Florida tag license plate in Philly, and it started with 1, but every single day for a year straight, it was a different tag, a different Florida tag. Then for me, it was one of the things that it was a sign for me to make a change. And I've always wanted to move to Florida. That was just a sign for it. But the signs are there for Tua. Tua keeps getting whacked by the same sign, and then he'll just kind of push it to the side and be like, that sign's not going to hit me again. And then it hits him again. I don't understand what Miami's thinking, but they still have all their eggs in one basket, and that's Tua. Then you have Tyreek Hill, who said, he's out, goodbye, see you laters. Other than doing what happened here in Tampa Bay, but he said he's out. Tua, to me, needs this offseason to really think deep down and hard, do I really want to continue this, or am I really done? One of the two. But for whatever odd reason, Miami believes not only obviously in McDaniels, but also believe in Tua. Miami needs to shop for a quarterback. They have to. You guys do not have any reliable backup quarterbacks. And to me, Tua getting banged up as much as he has, now he has a problem with his hip. Anybody and everybody knows when you play football, if your hip starts to go at a young age, as you progressively get older, it is not going to fare well for you. Barry Sanders, even though he was at the height of his game, he walked away, and no, I know a lot of people said because he wanted to go smoke weed with Dave Chappelle. It had nothing to do with that whatsoever. It was just he knew it was time for him to walk away from the game before the game made him walk away. So with Tua, I don't get it with the Dolphins. That's something that the Dolphins are going to have to figure out. Me being Tua Tagovailoa, I'm saying, you know what? Maybe I do need to just take this time away. Or you know what? Maybe I'll just come in as a second string quarterback and, you know, try to help out my team and see what goes on. But he's not, because the ego is going to not let him do so. But then you have the Jets in that disarray of a franchise. Rex Ryan's going again for another interview. You have Brian Flores, supposedly already went one time, but they have to wait if they're going to do anything whatsoever, because obviously the Vikings are still in it. If they want to speak to anybody from Detroit, they have to wait for the season to be over for them to speak to Detroit. Biggest hot ticket would be Mike Vrabel. At one point, they were saying it was going to be with the Jets, but now that the Patriots have let go of Gerard Mayo, now they're saying that Mike Vrabel would be the better option up there in New England, and that's supposedly Vrabel wanted to go there. You know, sometimes there's a destination you want to go to, and it's not the destination you want it. But I'm at a point with the Jets is like, I don't even think the Jets know what the Jets want. The Jets fans are upset of paying money to MetLife Stadium. By the way, one of the crappier stadiums. Listen, Jersey fans, let's keep it real. MetLife sucks. MetLife sucks as much as Washington sucks. It's a horrible freaking outfit. It really, but you guys, y'all fill the capacity. Hey, you hosted a Super Bowl there. God bless. That stadium sucks. You know, but you guys, that's what you guys paid for. And no offense, but that's what you did. Giants fans, you guys are in the same boat as the Jets. I don't know what your ownership let Saquon. Anyways, yeah, New York over. I've never been a fan of New York. God bless you guys. You guys get, Lord knows, you get enough attacks without us. But holy craps, the Jets are just done. I don't care who they bring in there; they're just done. Until they get rid of that owner, forget about it.
So you were saying that Rex Ryan was interviewing for the Jets
for a second time.
But I mean, like, what has he done lately that the Jets think that, oh, he's going to be our next coach, or he's going to be the next one to turn this thing around? I mean, don't get me wrong, Rex Ryan was a good coach and all that, but I mean, he hasn't been playing. He hasn't coached in how many years now? Like, it could all still be there. I mean, like, people say it's like riding a bike. You never forget. But at the same time, you're not in that pressure situation. You know what I mean? Like, in the job he has now, he doesn't feel like he's pressured to do anything. But if he goes back to coaching, then he's going to have all the pressure of, oh, you need to win now. You need to win this. And not only that, is if Rex does go to the Jets, I don't think Rex Ryan and Aaron would be a good compatible. I think it'd be like oil and water. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Rex will put up with Aaron's going into zone of darkness and drinking ayahuasca and all that other crap. So I don't think, if he does go to the Jets, I don't think Aaron will be there next year. My personal opinion.
I don't think so either. Some of the guys, they think, who is one of the guys, somebody from ESPN this morning said that he felt like that, Teddy Bruschi, and I believe it was yesterday, that he had mentioned they shouldn't, why let go of a talent like Aaron Rodgers go? I'm like, well, I'm sorry.
Because he sucks.
Right. So I don't know what Teddy Bruschi's thinking. I'm like, okay, you came from a Super Bowl caliber championship team. Aaron Rodgers does not have super in him, bowl in him, or championship in him, period. He doesn't. Even Greeny, who was so adamant and, he was gun-ho, like, we got Aaron Rodgers, we're going to win a Super Bowl. Dallas, by the way, haven't forgot about you clowns either, because what did Dak Prescott say? Now that he got paid, you guys going to win the Super Bowl? How did you guys end up yesterday on the losing side? Yes, I can talk.
Angel,
yeah.
He didn't say what year they were going to win the Super Bowl. He just said win the Super Bowl.
That's true. That is a good point by you. That is true. It's just, that will be used. I can bet you how many times that's going to be the opening monologue next year for every media network. It's going to be that. Listen, again, Dallas 7-10 finished third. We all kind of felt that Dallas would be up there with the Eagles this year. And again, listen, hats off to the Commanders. Dan Quinn did a good job with the Commanders. Obviously got them into the playoffs. And I know my hermano had picked the Commanders to win the division, which I was even baffled that he even said it before the regular season even kicked off. But was he right? No, obviously, because the Eagles ended up winning that one. And a lot of pundits end up picking that the Eagles would end up winning the division. And they did. It took them a long road to get there, but they finally turned around and got it done. But Cowboys fans, there are so many memes on Instagram. I could load up a full show of memes when it comes to you guys. But you guys, for whatever reason, in Jerry's world, that $1 billion stadium, no matter what, it's like Yankees fans, you guys buying the Yankees hats. For whatever odd reason, you guys keep drinking that juice. And I don't know how bad that juice is, but it's not from concentrate, that's for sure. And whatever is going on with your organization, y'all keep, for whatever odd reason, keep doing just dumb things after dumb things after dumb things. And I don't, honest to God, I don't get it. I really don't.
That punch must taste really, really good right now.
It must. For whatever odd reason, it must. But I don't, honestly, I don't get it. I really don't. I don't know what, I mean, I and I know Tim Worthington, you know, every once in a while he'll tune in, who's a huge Dallas fan, but this just, it's a crapshoot. I don't even, Dallas is not going to be, and who knows, Mike McCarthy hasn't been fired yet. And from when it seemed like, and I think Penguin as he had mentioned this morning on the Pete Shepard show, it didn't seem like he was going to be let go as of yet. I don't know what Dallas fans are going to do next season. You guys, and I know we all know an ostrich does not dig his head in the sand or the dirt or anything else like that. But you guys might be the first set of humans that might be doing that next year when you guys go out there to Jerry's world. That is a organization, and I know a lot of people blame Jerry Jones for it. And listen, not for nothing, partially is it Jerry Jones' fault? Yeah. But did they get banged up this year too? If I'm going to be fair, of course. You know, a lot of the Cowboys line was both sides of the ball were banged up. So I can sit here as armchair quarterback and say whatever I want to, but nonetheless, Cowboys fans, y'all keep drinking that same. Listen, just let me know how it works out for you come next year, because it's not looking good. It really isn't. And then you look at the Raiders. The Raiders were all in on their head coach, right? We saw last year. They made a huge case. No, he needs to stay here. What are you guys doing? We should look on the outside. Nobody wants anybody else. This is our guy. Raiders finished 4-13, fourth in the AFC West. And I mean, there's not a word to describe the Raiders season. You can't use a stick of dynamite, blow up, head blown emoji. I mean, there's, other than chaotic. And we keep hearing that for some reason, there's the Shador Dion combo to the Raiders. Are you convinced, GBG, that will still somewhat or another come into play where we would see the Sanders combo in Las Vegas?
At this moment, what position are the Raiders picking?
I believe they were third, if I remember correctly.
Third. Okay. I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, I don't put anything past anybody nowadays. You know, it's weird that it reminds me of when Eli was drafted by the Chargers, I believe, and he made a big old fit to go to the Giants. I think that's how it's gonna play out. Maybe somebody's gonna pick somewhere, or somebody's gonna pick somebody, and they're not gonna want to go there. I don't think Shador and Dion to the Raiders. I don't think that's a good fit. But that's just, you know, I don't think Dion's personality would fit. I mean, would fit very well with the ownership. I think there would be more of a back and forth arguing type of relationship. So I mean, it's possible that the Raiders could get Dion and Shador, but that's even if Dion really wants to go to the NFL. I mean, granted, you can't take what Dion says to face value, but he said that he doesn't want to go to the NFL, that he wants to stay at Colorado. So if that's really how he feels, then I don't think the Raiders are going to get Shador and Dion. They could still get Shador for sure, but I don't think Dion's going to go coach at the Raiders. I think there's other places that he'd rather go that are more attractive and more of the win now instead of win 10 years down from now, you know?
Yeah. By the way, if you guys are just tuning in, you're listening to Martinez Company here. It's 11:32 on the East Coast, about 8:32 there on the left coast. Of course, I'm talking about, California. You guys, I can't believe how sensitive people become. Honest to God. What do you call the left coast? Is it political? No, I've always called the left coast, even when I lived up in the northeast coast side of the house. It's the left side of the United States, if I have to explain. If you're looking at the map, the Atlantic is on the right. The left is your Pacific coast. So that's why I call it the left coast. But nonetheless, 8:32 out there in California, Arizona, Washington State with the Seattle Seahawks. I'm kind of surprised. And in case you guys have missed it, obviously Doug Peterson was the first one let go this morning as a head coach on Black Monday. Yesterday, Gerard Mayo was let go from the New England Patriots. There's been talks of of Vrabel coming up. Also, there's been some rumor that it was spread earlier, the duel between Dion and Shador. I don't see it. I don't think so. It would make no sense to me. And I believe Dion has expressed if he's leaving Colorado, he's not going to go colder. He wanted to go warmer. When that being if a coach position in the college ranks open up in Florida. And the only place he may have thought about, and even he said, he himself did not say it, but Raiders probably end up being a destination, but those are the two big ones so far. And then obviously the Giants are keeping Schoen and Dayball after a 3-14 season, which, yes, a lot of people, you might be scratching your heads, but Mayan Mano, the drive with Q from 4 to 6 p.m. this evening, he's going to get into a lot more. I know the fans jumped all over him because he was talking about the Eagles so much to Saquon Barkley. And listen, why not? It was a hot topic. Everybody wanted to know what was going to end up happening. By the way, you guys had missed yesterday too. A.J. Brown, he was literally resting yesterday when at one point, when the camera panned over to him and he was falling asleep right there on the bench. Now, listen, I can't blame him. If he was nice and toasty and it was cold over there in Philly yesterday, hell, if I had an opportunity to close my eyes, I'd have done it too. It's not like he was in the game. And I know people will say, well, that's not right because he should be paying attention. He was, just with his eyes closed. I don't blame him. I don't blame him whatsoever. And of course, the Bengals had fired the DC coordinator after 6 seasons. And I just, Lou Anaramo, he's been let go. And again, I think the Bengals have more problems than just that. Come next year, Joe Burrow has to do a little bit better than what he did this year. Stop worrying about what you look like. You're a quarterback. You get paid millions of dollars to do a job. Stop worrying about what's trending. The same thing. It's like like ESPN or something has this thing where every week, what is it? Fitwear or fit something. The hell do I care what you show up at the stadium with? Win.
Oh yeah.
It's freaking ridiculous. I think it might have been Jamar Chase yesterday. Showed up in some crazy, it looked like a suitcase on a jacket. It was ridiculous what he wore yesterday. But they're worried about look who's looking fit. Stop worried about challenges. How about you worry about how you're playing the game? How about you're in there before everybody gets in there and then you're last man out to figure out what you need to do better. And that's in any profession.
I'm sorry. It's funny that stuff all really started. Gotta slow it down a little bit. All that stuff really started with Cam Newton, I believe.
Yep.
About how he would come into the stadium with the hats and the fur coats and all that kind of crap. It's like you said. I really don't care what you're wearing. I could care less if you came in boxers and that's it. As long as you win the game, I could care less what you're wearing. That doesn't bother. That doesn't concern me. What concerns me is win the game, win the game, win the game.
That's about it. That's it. Because honestly, in the end, what's it matter? It's different. Okay, I can understand if you're being sponsored by, I don't know, freaking Gucci or whatever, whatever brand is out there. I'm sorry. I'm not a brand guy. Meaning, sure, do I display my own brand? Of course, because I want to make sure everybody knows where my network, how to find it, the whole 9 yards. But am I going out there and buying Gucci to make Gucci more rich? And what, just so I can make a status for myself? What does the next man or woman that sees me care about what the hell I'm wearing? Unless, you're about Gucci and that lifestyle. I don't care. Because in the end, let's say I spend $500 on a pair of Gucci pants. How's it going to work out for me when my car breaks down? Excuse me, Mr. Mechanic. These have a value of $500, only worn once. So I think we can trade off my engine and $450 for his pair of jeans. It's the most asinine thing ever. I swear it. But you know what? It's, the same way, like what Tyreek Hill yesterday during the post-game presser, right? He was in a locker room. Same thing. Why do these guys wear all this ice around their neck? It's me and I'm playing. First of all, I would not like another player intentionally is going to grab you by your neck, but it happens every once in a while. And then you lose it. Like you spend 6 figures to wear something around your neck. And I can't believe that the NFL police don't, and I don't mean folks, once again, God, I got to explain myself, not as in the actual 911 version, meaning the fashion police. Then I'm surprised they don't give these guys fines because they're wearing all that ridiculous friggin' set of diamonds. I just think it's friggin' actually ridiculous. Rick says, by the way, I'm into NFL games and not Queer Eye for the straight guy, which, and he's making a valid point. And again, let me explain, folks. He's not talking about as far as male or female. He's talking about that, we're not there because it's a fashion statement. We go and watch these games and pay for them because we want to see what our teams are doing. Again, I don't care for the fact of the matter that I'm watching so-and-so tell me how much his $500,000 necklace provides extra oomph for him during a game. You're not Samson. Samson believed in his hair until he didn't. So I just don't get it. This whole fashion football thing that the NFL has done, and they have allowed for a lot of things to happen, it makes no sense. And then you see guys now, it's like, I understand, like, if you want to do like dance moves, who has the best dance move, bust move, however it's even called anymore. If you want to go out there and do the best celebration, I'm all for it. But when it comes to, I'm just going to use Tyreek Hill, who spent probably about $400,000, and I'm pretty sure it's a lot more than that. It's probably like close to $2 million what he had around his neck. So now the next guy has got to spend $20 million. Where is that going to lead you into retirement? You cannot trade in that chain and get your $20 million back, because it's like a car. Once you bought it, it's yours, and that's it. Yeah, it'll retain some sort of value, but not everyone's going to have the same size neck as you do. So it's just the NFL. I love the NFL for certain things. Other things, too, they got to tighten up a little bit more. But why? Why do you have the need to come out there and show all this crazy bling for? I would be scared just walking out of the stadium, someone jump me just because of what I have. It just, whatever's. Anyways, the other interesting part was the New York Jets about an hour ago requested to interview Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith for the head coaching job. I don't know if it's just because of Rex Ryan, or they feel like he's good enough to be a head coach, or they're just throwing rings and names in a hat until other teams wrap up their season. Would it be bad for New York? Nope. But at the same time, too, are the Steelers looking to let him go? Probably not. Steelers have gone on a 4-game slide. Last year, I talked about Coach Tomlin, and I thought he should have been let go. He made a monkey out of me and finished over 500. He's the only head coach who's been in the league for 10 plus years and has yet to finish under 500. But at the rate that the Steelers are going, am I still thoroughly convinced that Tomlin should still be there? Should he be there next year? Yeah, I'm quite sure he's earned it. Russell Wilson has tried to be a better quarterback, and I think he did fairly well for Pittsburgh. You also have Justin Fields at this point, who also did well and did a lot better for the Bears. And the Bears yesterday What a pisser. Goodness gracious. You turn around and you beat Green Bay on a, what was it? The phony end punt return. And then you go up for a field goal and end up winning the game. But the Bears, okay, GBG, here's a good one for you. Who in their right mind at this point, seeing what the Bears have none done in the last 3 years, and even though the owner claimed after he let go of the former head coach that it would be a desirable job for anyone in the NFL, is there a name right now that really kind of sticks out to be convinced that they really want to run and be a part of that organization?
Not any name that really jumps out at me saying, "Hey, this guy would be good for the Bears." I think the Bears need to look at the owners. The owners need to take a look at themselves and see what they're doing wrong or what they're not doing. Like getting the right coach in there is got to be priority number one. But at the same time, which coach is available or might be available right now? I I don't know. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, Angel, that would fit for that job or maybe even want that job. To be honest.
I don't see anybody right now, and I don't even think Chucky, and I haven't heard his name being thrown out there, but the Bears right now, the I don't even listen. Bears fans can be just as bad as Eagles fans, just as bad out there in the midway. But I don't honestly, I don't know. I mean, you don't even hear Mike Vrabel get an interview in Chicago. So I think Mike Vrabel's like, no, Chicago, thank you, but no, thank you. I'm not even looking to you guys. I mean, do they try to reach out to Dougie P? Does Dougie P go to Chicago and try to turn things around after the disastrous 2 years he had out there in Jacksonville? I mean, I don't know. I don't even know who Chicago. I honestly got it. And fans of the show here, you guys can tune in and let me know what you guys think. I don't know who. I'm baffled. I really don't know who would want to be in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Angel. I'm sitting here thinking and thinking and thinking, and I can't even come up with a name that would even want to be in Chicago right now. That's just a shit show, to be honest with you.
It is, because you'd have to look. I mean, you would literally have to come in there. And I know, listen, they brought in the OC, right? They got rid of the OC. They said the OC was a problem before they got rid of the head coach. So you promote the OC to become the HC. And like, to me, just in my opinion, Bears fans, you guys tell me different. But in my opinion, like, you set him up for failure. You didn't even give him a chance to shine as the OC. And then, you turn around and you're like, well, he sucks as offensive coordinator. I'm sorry. He was the interim head coach. So he didn't get to show you guys what he can do as offensive coordinator. Now, obviously, as Rick says, crudeness, as we're talking about here about the Bears. But but my thing is, I honestly, I can't think of anybody. Do they reach out to Chip Kelly? I mean, I can't think of anybody who they really want to go after. I mean, could Brian Flores?
Where's Fangio at?
Vic Fangio, he was the Eagles.
Oh, he's at the Eagles. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think if Brian Flores was up to the challenge, possibly, I could see that way. As Rick says, oops, Gruden, he was talking about. But, I honestly don't even know. And my wife, who will walk back into Studio B, I don't even think she knows who would be a good fit right now for Chicago Bears, because Chicago Bears fans would have no idea. And she just shook her head. Her too. She has not a clue either. But
and not only that, Angel. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Not only that, Angel, you got to think they have a rookie quarterback too. So now they have to think of who are we going to get that's going to be able to help coach this young man up and give him the best opportunities to advance in the quarterback field.
Correct. I don't know. It's gonna be tough. Joey B says Rex Ryan to Chicago would be a great fit. Maybe, but they haven't reached out to him.
I'd prefer Rex Ryan in Chicago than I would in the Jets. I think there's a better opportunity for him at Chicago.
It would. I mean, I don't think if I'm Rex Ryan, especially the way things kind of didn't work out for Rex Ryan. I would maybe Joey B's on something. He may be a good fit over there in Chicago, but he also says that Devin Studio B walking on eggshells this offseason. Not only listen. My wife, Chicago fans, not only are you guys going through it with the Bears, those who are White Sox fans, dear God. The White Sox
coming.
Exactly. Do you know how bad you'd have to be? You got to think about it. If you're the owner of the Chicago White Sox, which apparently it showed that he didn't care, you saw 8 people. 8 people. I think there's maybe 35,000 seats that fill out there in whatever stadium is called, be it whatever stadium. But and I'm not making fun. I just forgot the name of the stadium itself. But you got let's just say it holds 35,000 seats, and one game this season it was 8 fans that showed up. If that's not sending a message, and this is what I mean, if the fans don't buy the tickets, you're sending a message to the ownership group. But Jets fans, Cowboys fans, I don't know what kind of message you guys are sending, like the polar opposite message. You guys are sending the message to the ownership group. We love to suck. That's what we do. We aim to suck on Sundays. That's just, again, my dumb opinion, but who the heck knows? Rick says, by the way, Gruden has such a big ego that he would want to get a bad team and make them better. Yeah, true. But I don't think anybody's going to reach out to him in Chicago, but they could. And then Joey B says, Devin Studio B may move outside to the garage and create Studio C for her own shows. CS10 about Chicago sports talk. That might not be a bad idea. She won't do it. She's not going anywhere from Studio B. But for those who are not following the Kansas City Chiefs, they are still stuck in Denver. Not only following the loss to the Broncos, and again, no one cared. They already wrapped up the number 1 seed, so for them it was just they had to show up. But because of the winter storm, and then it was funny because they had mentioned on Saturday when they were traveling. Again, you guys know what the weather was going to be like. They were like an hour delayed, and they made it seem like they had this monstrous delay, and the reason why they couldn't get out there to Denver. But it's at this point, it's nasty weather. Just you got a bye week. It's not like your cars are not going anywhere. They're at the airport in a secured lot. So it's not going anywhere. It's not like the rest of us where the common folk have to, park somewhere. You told them, no, I'll be back in 24 hours. Now you're screwed. So yeah, they're going to be just fine. Kansas City will be just fine. I'm honestly surprised being on air that there has been another firing. Maybe as I say that, maybe that something else will happen, but it's been quite quiet. Now, one thing that came in, Joey B says, LOL, Chiefs game yesterday here in Denver. They ran basically all plays between the hashes and tried to run the clock and get back home. True. Very true. And then Rick follows up with Chiefs are trying to figure out a way to leave Wentz behind. Yeah. That they are. Rex Ryan. Now this came through and apparently at towards the top of the hour here at 11 o'clock, Rich Cimini, the ESPN staff writer, said Rex Ryan says he's convinced Jets will hire him as the next coach, this is interesting. So let's see this about here. Former New York Jets coach Rex Ryan, scheduled to interview Tuesday for the team's head coaching vacancy, is convinced he will land the job. If it happens, he says, let me go back because, again, every once in a while things get jittery here. He will put an end to the Aaron Rodgers country club. Really?
Country club.
Okay. So he says, Ryan appearing Monday on ESPN's New York radio ripped the future Hall of Famers for skipping the team's mandatory minicamp last June to take a vacation to Egypt. He also criticized the organization abysmal leadership for condoning it. Clearly, when you have a guy that doesn't show up for mandatory minicamp, and by the way, He's your quarterback coming off injury. I think it's absolutely ridiculous message you're sending to the team. Brian said during spot on DiPietro and Rothenberg show. It sounds like a law firm. If he comes back, I think so. If he comes back, things will be different. If he's back, he ain't going to be the country club show up whenever the hell you want to show up. That ain't going to happen. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. All right.
See, that just goes to touch on what I was telling you about him and Rogers not being in the same, that their water are ice and oil, ice, oil and water. God dang, I can't talk.
I get to where you were going to. I get it. It's just, other than Black Monday, it's baffling Monday because it makes you wonder how some of these coaches are around. And it's funny because the Drive with Q is coming up, by the way, 4 to 6 p.m. this afternoon. Followed by Q would be B's World from 6 to 7:30 tonight. And joining us this evening will be the newest host here on the Coastal Sports Network, Isaias Young, who's going to be with his own show, Young Life Radio, on Tuesdays and Thursday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. He's going to be on with Beav and myself a little bit after 6:30 in the evening. We'll wait for him to jump on with us, and we'll get into some college stuff and other things as well. And then he'll talk about his show and what he plans on doing here on the network. So his schedule will be up there a little bit later on SR1029thegame.com. Thanks to you guys who not only have visited the website, also who have downloaded the app. We do appreciate it as always. But Angel, hold on. Joey B says, let's get back to this one. Angel GBG, thoughts on if Deion Shador, as we talked about it earlier, would be a good fit in New England. I'm not sure if Kraft and his ego would be a good fit with Deion and Shador's egos, oil and water. Good question, Joey B. I don't think it's going to happen. I know it was put out there that supposedly they want to bring both. To me, Deion's heart is not in New England, if I'm being 100% honest. Could I see Deion surprisingly with the Jets? I could see that. But that would be a crazy miracle if that happens. I don't think it would be a good fit for both. I don't think it would be a good fit for Shador, and I don't think it'd be a good fit, obviously, for Deion. Now, the only way it would happen, and it would make no sense to me either, and GBG, you can touch on this as well, that means you would have to get rid of Drake May. And to me, I think Drake May is the fit for New England. I don't see it. And even Glenn O had talked about it when he was on with Pete this morning. I don't see New England getting rid of Drake May. Again, that's like people calling for J.J. McCarthy to be let go just because of Sam Darnold and the lightning that he caught this season. But GBG, what say you? I don't think that New England will let go of Drake May just to bring the Sanders.
No, I don't think they'll do that either. And the Sam Darnold thing, they showed you why they're not going to get rid of him, because he was not good yesterday. Sam Darnold wasn't good yesterday at all, and that's why they're not going to trade J.J. McCarthy, because Sam Darnold is Sam Darnold.
Yep, I don't think so either. I think he caught lightning in a ball this year. He looked good again. We say it, we hear it all the time. The right team with the right fit and the right quarterback then makes it better for a quarterback who was in disarray and came back. Justin Fields, again, I'll use him as the example over there with Pittsburgh. To me personally, I think he earned that starting job, but I understand that the Steelers want to make Russell Wilson the starter. And I get it. It was great that Russell Wilson had himself a good year, but we're going to see what happens here in the postseason. Denver, I'm pretty sure, enjoyed the season even more. Now they're back in the playoffs with Bo Nix. Again, rookie quarterback who's done well out there in Denver. I would like to see Denver go as deep as they possibly can in a playoff push. And listen, at any playoff time, teams that are hot fizzle out. Other teams that are kind of coming up through the ranks end up doing better. But we'll see what ends up happening with Denver. I just think there's a couple teams out there that are not making sense for anyone. In New Orleans, the Saints are going to have to figure out after a 5-12 season what they're going to do at the head coaching helm. I don't believe the current head coach is going to be the permanent head coach come next season. Atlanta, you're looking at a team. Did they do a little bit better this year? Yes. But then you guys had that controversy. Why pick up Kirk Cousins if you knew ultimately, he's he's going to be the new Bobby Bowe. I mean, Bobby Bonilla, every year, he laughs at the Mets. So, hey, look, it's Bobby Bowe Day. I get another $1 million. Kirk Cousins, he's going to be Bobby Bowe Part 2 because he's going to end up collecting a paycheck for days. I mean, he figured to finish 8-9, which wasn't bad. But again, the draft that he did last year and this year, it didn't make sense. Last year, I understand from Michael Penix. But then the year before, they went on a running back, knowing that they have problems defensively, but it just doesn't make any sense. Joey B comes back and says, how about this? Deion Shedeur to Jacksonville, trade Trevor Lawrence for money and draft picks, move up in the draft and grab Travis Hunter. Jags under Deion could rebuild and have picks and cash. That would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, that would definitely make a lot more sense. What do you think about? Do you think Justin Fields stays with the Steelers, or do you think somebody else tries to get him to be a backup?
I would think someone like the Cleveland Browns are going to reach out to Pittsburgh. I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina once again reaches out, because I don't see the redheaded stepchild staying with down here in Carolina. I can see the Colts reaching out to Justin Fields. Someone who needs a solid backup quarterback, and not to say that Justin Fields may not earn once again a starting quarterback position, but yeah, I don't think unless Pittsburgh, for whatever odd reason, decides to part ways with Russell Wilson to keep Justin Fields as their starter. But no, I who knows on that behalf, but I do like the one that Joey B said about Deion and Shedeur to Jacksonville. That I could see happen, because again, he said he wanted destination Florida if it was going to be anything whatsoever.
I think that would be a good fit.
But the problem is, and GBG, think about this as well. So, okay, let's say you trade, and Travis Hunter is definitely going to be a great get, period. And obviously the way he connected with Shedeur Sanders, it would make a lot of sense. But who do you trade Trevor Lawrence to?
Ooh, that's a good one. You know what? I wouldn't mind seeing him at the Bucks and back up Baker.
Yeah, but is he really going to want to be a backup?
No, probably not. Especially after he just got paid.
Or if you really want to piss some people off, how about New Orleans?
Well, that's in my division, so that's why I didn't say that. But that would make good sense too. I think that'd be a good fit for him, and he could be the starter.
Because you figure is Derek Carr still a viable starter?
I don't think so. I think his time has passed on being a starter. I think he's a good backup. But to be a starter anymore, I don't think he has it.
Rick says Lawrence to Cleveland. That may not be. You know what Cleveland would have?
That would be a good fit, also.
Yeah, because Cleveland does have room. They do have room to work for, and they could give up some cash as well. That might not be bad. Joey B also says, do you guys think that Mike McDaniels at Miami will last? Just announced he's coming back for 2025, but he's on a short leash there. Listen, whatever Mike McDaniels has convinced the owner, I think they all just smoke doobies during the offseason. I really do. I really think they just kind of go around and they just, they do a Cheech and Chong segment and figure out what to do next. But Mike McDaniels with Miami, he's going to be around, but if they have, I'll put it this way, Joey B. If the Dolphins start out 1-4 next season, then I would say that Mike McDaniels would have to be gone. I mean, Miami did absolutely nothing during the offseason. And granted, of course, Tua was hurt. Some of the Dolphins were banged up, but McDaniels, for whatever reason, they believe in him. What do they believe in him? I don't know. Because when you listen to his press conferences, I don't even think Mike McDaniel knows what he's talking about 90% of the time. But they're going to keep him in. Rick says I would fire McDaniels after first preseason game. Could happen. It could happen.
What about Lawrence to the Dolphins?
That could be good.
That could be interesting.
It could be. But again, they're all in on Tua, but it would be he would stay in Florida, like you said. As far as the Bucs, I don't think Trevor Lawrence wants to be a backup. I don't see it, so I would think that he wouldn't be a starter. Miami wouldn't be too bad. Raiders are in dire need. Does he resurrect the Raiders with a right head coach? I mean, it could be a 1-2 combo. The Raiders can, well, not really, because they gave up a lot for Devontae Adams. But they can still afford it. I mean, for cash consideration, the Raiders could probably end up doing something. The other one, too, if you take a look at it, is, and I know he hasn't been talked about as much here, as we have a couple minutes here before we wrap it up, but how about the Niners? You got Brock Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant just, shy of last year. This year, they finished up 6-11. Again, I know the Niners been bagged up. I don't think that Kyle Shanahan, to me personally, he's not head coaching material. 49ers are going to have to really think about what they want to do during the offseason. Could the Niners be a fit for Trevor Lawrence?
Oh, yeah. I think that would be a dream position to work with Kyle Shanahan, because I mean, look what he did for Brock Purdy, and Purdy's had a pretty good season, pretty good career so far. So I think Trevor and Kyle would be a good fit, and I think Trevor could really do some good over there. They got a offensive line, so
the same way, or if we're staying out there in the West, I think Kyler Murray needs to be let go by the Cardinals. And if you really want to try and do a rebuilding process, then if you're talking about cash consideration and trades, then you're looking at the Cardinals. Even though they finished up 8-9, I think Kyler Murray, to me, he is no longer in any kind of starting position of anything whatsoever, because he has become his own case. And I'm not even throwing basket or anything in there. He's just become his own case. And I think at this point, the Cardinals, who finished third in the NFC West, Trevor Lawrence, that might not be a bad spot either, a bad landing spot for out there in Phoenix.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a good spot too.
That's a good question, Joey B. If you remember, I'll try to remember the best I possibly can, and I'll throw it up to the Drive with Q this afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m. But because that would be super, super interesting. And then the last one here that I'll get into is, which once again we saw the Seahawks take care of business yesterday, finished up 10-7, second in AFC West. I think it's time for them to start looking for a new QB. I think it's time that you're looking at a rebuild, and almost, I dare say, a complete rebuild out there in Seattle. I think Geno Smith did the best he possibly could, but I think even Geno knows he's not starting QB material anymore.
Yeah, I think Geno's a good quarterback, but I think that his starting time has passed. And I mean, he'll be a great backup for somebody, but yeah, I think his starting time is past, and now he's just the backup, a good backup, but a backup.
Yep. By the way, Joey B says, in San Francisco, any of you guys see GM John Lynch's reaction to some of the defensive play in the last game? He was swearing and really mad. Unlike Lynch, I think San Francisco's going to go through some major changes. Yep, and that's why I mentioned Joey B for that, because yeah, you can see, like, he's really done with what went on with San Francisco. When you went to, like I said, last year at the beginning, now because we're in 2025, but when we went out there to Radio Row in Vegas, you can, even though Lynch was happy, you can just tell that Shanahan was not ready to win a Super Bowl. Then you take of what went on this year, and to me, he's looking at it like, I need to do something, and it's got to happen now. As Joey B says, agree, Angel, 100%. Seattle needs to start a rebuild. Seems like they just can't break through. Need a new culture and identity. They do. Rick Marcus follows up with, time to wash my truck and watch the rain get it dirty later. And when the cold front comes through and feels like Denver, stay warm, Angel and GPG. You too, Rick. Appreciate you as always. But listen. There's certain teams this offseason that are going to be looking around and figuring out what to do next. Joey B also finished up with Justin Fields of Seattle could resemble a young Russell Wilson there and have some success with his talent. That may not be too bad either. Justin Fields of Seattle, that may not be bad. That could be a good fit for Justin Fields. And I think it obviously would put him as a starter. But I think Geno Smith, Seattle really needs to take a deep look. The same way like San Fran, like I said, staying out on the West Coast and figure out what to do because Harbaugh obviously, resurrected the Chargers to make it into the playoffs, but there's just going to be a lot of unknowns. That's all. The best that I can say is going to be a lot of unknowns, and we shall see. We'll see as the season progresses. But to that, yep.
I gotta head out. I gotta take a phone call real quick. I know we're getting ready to wrap it up. So have a great day. Have a great week. Make good choices and go Bucks.
Indeed, GBG. Thank you for your time as always. I do appreciate it.
Oh yeah. I'll talk to you later, Angel.
All righty. All right. And as we wrap up the show there, as he just talked about, Gaslam Guy, we thank him for always taking the time to coming on the show. We do appreciate it, along with Rick Marcus, Joey B, especially Penguin AZ, who gets up at dark 30 to be on with the Pete Shepard Show in the morning, who starts us off from 7 to 10 a.m. And that is Monday through Friday. You guys can always find the content over on sr1029thegame.com, the all-digital platform. Martinez Company, myself here, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 10 to 12, as long as I'm not running into a crazy meeting. Then, of course, the Drive with Q, 4 to 6 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then Tuesday and Thursdays are from 5 to 6 p.m. as he goes to 5 days a week, followed by B's World here Monday night, 6 p.m. till about 7:30. Joining us tonight will be, once again, the new host here on the network, Yesias Young, with the Young Life radio show. That'll be coming up starting on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 8 p.m. So Q will lead them off. And then after that, Yesias will come in following his show from 7 to 8 p.m. And then capping off the night will be Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on Sports Radio 102.9 The Game. So thank you all once again for tuning in. We hope that your team made it to the postseason. If not, well, there's always next season, because a lot of times Eagles fans have been used to that. So thank you all. Don't forget, you can always visit sr1029thegame.com. We appreciate it. You can follow all of us on the network as soon as you go to the individual pages up there for the entire team. Check out About Us. Just check out the content all together, as we do appreciate everyone. And with that being said, don't forget, coming up this afternoon, the Drive with Q from 4 to 6 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your day. Make good choices, as GBG said, and we will talk to you later.